in only one game this season, the Sundowns been behind, and that was a game against Stellenbosch.
That is a crazy stat to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking about
That
it.
is a crazy stat to me. So Sundowns have been behind once this season.
20 minutes, Andile.
That's ridiculous. No, that is ridiculous. Please repeat that stat again. What?
Sundowns have been behind in a league game just once this season, only for 20 minutes between the 14th and the 34th minute in September 2023.
Come on. What? Exactly 8 up to the hour 6 of the Mighty Metro FM. It's the morning, well, it's the afternoon, the evening after the evening before, isn't it? Huh? What an evening last night. I didn't even see the Chelsea game that was on. All eyes. It was Chelsea-Tottenham, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Chelsea-Tottenham last night. Missed that game completely. All eyes at F&B. Kaizer Chiefs holding Sundowns in that first half. Couldn't do it for the entire tenure. Sundowns are the champions of the DSTV Premiership for the 7th time in a row, 14th time in PSL era. But they've still got titles that they're chasing. They've still got records that they're chasing. Optajabu will come on and tell us about that. We do have the guys in studio here. Piso's with us. Nadeem is with us. And, of course, Mark is with us. We'll touch on that. And also, we've got I've got an apology, I guess. I'll take this one, gents. I'll take it because Nadeem says he's tired of apologizing. So I'll take it. We're going to congratulate Sundowns. We'll get into the Sundowns story. We'll talk about them this season. But here's the big one. The really big discussion today is in and around Coach of the Season. What happens with Coach of the Season in a season where up until now, and all the voting and all the stuff happens way before the season's over. Remember that, right? Rulani, undefeated, facing invincibility. Then you go and look at what's happened in Cape Town as well with Stellenbosch, yeah? 49 points this season in 26 games, which is a new record for them as well. A team that has a lot of youngsters, is not as funded as what Sundowns are, versus a team like Sundowns who've played as many games as they have in as many tournaments as they have. Coach Rulani, I don't know why there's two. I'm not sure who the third coach is to get into this mix here. But surely those two, the front runners. Where does it go? And before you say outright whatever it is you're about to say, remember Pizzo versus Benny McCarthy. Remember Pizzo versus Benny McCarthy. So we'll get into that and how Sundowns won it last night against Kaizer Chiefs. Kevin Johnson. Have you listened to Kevin Johnson's post-match interviews? I said this 2 weeks ago, and I said, I almost feel sorry for Kevin Johnson at this rate. I feel like Kevin doesn't know what to say anymore. Like, I feel like he's just, how many drawing boards do they have at Kaizer Chiefs? I don't know. Like, and it's not Kevin's fault. I just feel like he just, it's mandatory that you go to the presser afterwards. It's mandatory that you speak to Mazola afterwards. I wish Mazola could just be like, Coach, thank you very much. Go relax. And leave the coach alone. Just leave him alone. It's 10 after the hour 6. The guys here. We'll intro the guys. We'll get into the show. And Sundowns, Kaizer Chiefs, 2nd and 3rd place, relegation, but most importantly, coach of the season. Welcome back. It's 12 up to the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. This is Sports Not Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ncube, and on a Friday, it's Podcast Friday! Listen, man, Coach Rulani Mokwena calls them the Incredibles, but they have an opportunity to be the Invincibles as well. I'm going to steal that because I've got the Incredibles in the studio as well. Piso snaps.
Good evening, Ma'a. Good evening to the listeners, and good evening to everybody listening to the #1 sports show in South Africa.
Social media manager and digital curator. Sundowns did it. It was never in doubt, though.
Everyone has known it was going to happen from very early on in the season, so there's no surprises.
It was another Mazola season. Yeah. Remember, after one game, Mazola said, give them the truth. It was another Mazola season. Of course, Mark Haskins, the Hask, follow him on social media. He is here with us as well. He's a former Choma Cosmos Morocco Swallows Wits midfielder. And, of course, nowadays wears his hat in the managerial roles of players. Mark?
Great to be here again this evening. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to the listeners. Yeah, it's going to be jam-packed.
I'm getting a lot of DMs, people saying, hey, how do we get Mark's attention? How do I say, hey, Mark, here's a player. Hey, Mark, please come and watch me. How do people get a hold of you?
I guess on social media will be good as well. It's Mark the Hask or just the Hask, depending on the platform you're using.
There you go. Go find him. Sundowns was never in doubt.
Certainly not. I mean, from very long, it was just a matter of how soon and they would wrap it up, how soon and how many games remaining they would wrap it up. And then so ultimately it's turned out to be 6 games to go. They've wrapped up the league, and they deservedly have set themselves apart.
Nadim Lukele, SABC, former SABC researcher and statistician, a man who studies the football game and numbers, and it's his job to know what's going on. Nadim?
Yeah, Andile. Yeah, it's good being here. It's been an interesting season, but we all knew Sundowns were gonna win it before they even the season started. It's been a good season for them, but they deserve. They work hard. They've got a coach who's just doing so well.
Speaking of doing so well, let's start our first conversation. We had a chat with a man out in Romania who's just won Romania Liga Ngezan. And one of the things that he said, and I hadn't realized this, because he'd been at Chiefs for so long. He said, "Andy, this is my first trophy. I've never won anything. This is it. This is my first. This is my first trophy." And I was like, "What?" But let's speak to him. This is a clip from earlier in the week when we crossed over to Romania to speak to Siyan Ngezan.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. More especially, it's my first title, so yeah, I'm very, very excited.
It is your first title ever, isn't it?
Yes, it's my first title ever.
Well, see, I like how you with him as well, boy.
Yeah, I understand. Sometimes things they don't go according to the play.
But it wasn't that. We also had a conversation about the level of football in Romania versus here at home when he was playing in the DStv Premiership. This is what Siyabonga Ngezana had to say.
For me, Andile ngasho with body positioning, you understand? Those are the things that are live. It's not like we, as like in South Africa, we don't train them, but we take them live, maybe as players, you understand? Those things, they are very important, and they are small, but they are very important, you understand? Because of, in South African, bear in mind, South Africans are very talented. It's proven, go AFCON, it's proven, we know in football, just that, like, we need some of the things, to master and to get there.
Mark, I'm going to come with this one to you here. I mean, especially on that coaching aspect. He says, as a pro here, playing at one of the biggest teams, if not the biggest team in Southern Africa, and one of the biggest in Africa, in Kaizer Chiefs, he had to go there and be taught basics, he says.
I've experienced it as a coach myself. I remember when I first got to Wits University, that's the varsity team. You have to literally go back to basics. And unfortunately, it's not the players' fault. We've literally let our players, I say it week after week on the show, unfortunately. There's a school of thought that says we're like 20 years behind the rest of the world in terms of our development of players. And what he says makes sense. Coach Zinbauer, when he left, when he left Pirates, he got, he made a statement that a lot of people didn't take kindly to when he said 18-year-old defenders in Germany know more than PSL defenders. And he's not talking or saying that they're better players. He just means that how they've been trained, how they've been developed, and how they understand the game is well ahead of our players. And it comes down to development. And so I can completely understand what Ngezana is saying. And it's the little things that matter. And if we get that right, Andile, the rest of the world is in trouble.
First trophy ever for Ngezana.
It has to be, because Chiefs are no longer winning trophies. They are a team that now are really fighting for top 8 and relegation. That's where they are. So he has to, if you want to win a trophy, you need to leave Kaizer Chiefs with immediate effect. I'm happy for him, because the way he left Kaizer Chiefs and to do well in Europe, most of the players tend to struggle. He's playing for one of the biggest team, actually one of the biggest team in Romania. So you will say he's not playing for a small team, a team that also previously has been in the Champions League. It's one of those things where you said you learn a lot of things, basics. But I wonder if the Sundowns players, if they can go overseas, they can say the same thing, because the structure there, it's like now they can attract players who have played in Europe and come to Sundowns and also excel. I don't know if it's the similar case, or maybe just Chiefs, the basics are wrong. Of course, it's not surprising. If you look at the results that have been coming, 5-1 and all those kind of things, you'll believe him, whatever he says.
Piso, you had the conversation with Ngezana?
Yeah, firstly, my major congratulations to him. I mean, to go from a Kaizer Chiefs where he wasn't really playing that much, where there was a lot of questions about him moving to Europe, having the guts to do that, in the first place. And then getting there, I think he didn't play in the first 6 games of the season for them. He didn't play in the preliminaries for the Conference League. When they finally played him, I think they were 2-1 down. He came on as a substitute. And the first 6 games that they played, they had 2 clean sheets. he started the next 2 games. It was a clean sheet in both of them. You know, he's played 31 games this season. There's 15 clean sheets from those games.
Wow.
So he's done so well for himself. And what he says about development of South African players, I think it's a conversation that has been had for the past few years. You know, there's so much more than just talent. In terms of talent, our players are right up there. But then there is a development aspect of it where you need to understand spatial awareness, where you need to understand when you get a pass.
You spoke about body position.
Exactly.
I would think that, you know, by the time you're playing PSL football, you know where you're supposed to be.
But a lot of players don't have that, you know, where you understand what angle you're supposed to be receiving a pass at, where you understand that the ball is at your feet, but you're supposed to be looking around, finding the next pass. Before the ball even gets to you, you're supposed to know where you want to pass it next. So little things like that, I feel like are nuances that aren't really there in our development. Skill-wise, we're up there, but development, we're still lagging behind.
We had to touch base on that. I mean, it was an exclusive conversation with Siyabonga Ngezana all the way out from Romania. Kaizer Chiefs versus Sundowns was the game yesterday. Sundowns going on to win it. They won their 7th in absolute style. It was incredible watching them in that second half. Yes, Chiefs were a man down, but I think even that, for me, gives Chiefs a good excuse. You know, I think for me, that's the best thing that could have happened to Chiefs, because it gives them a good excuse. They were playing 10 men, you know, versus the Sundowns team that was just a roller coaster. I don't see Chiefs, even with 11, if they could have been able to withstand Sundowns. We get into that. We celebrate Sundowns when we come back. 22 after the hour, 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. Sundowns, the Incredibles is what Rulani Mokwena is calling this team. I mean, they're short of just being in the Invincibles at the moment. Before we go to the season they've had and how they've clinched it, let's go back to last night. This is Kevin Johnson after the match last night on his tenure.
It's been difficult, and it's been nice as well. It's been a learning curve, and we learn from these mistakes, and you learn from the wins as well. We learn every day, and I hope I am one of those human beings that is able to learn every day of my life. And when you receive the scoreline that you received tonight, then you probably learn the most. And if you're humble enough to say, guys, I was beaten today, then so be it. But you've got to come back stronger.
Kevin Johnson, this Kaizer Chiefs, yesterday was a combination of all the things that we've been speaking about, Mark, but there were some glimpses of something, yeah?
Yeah, certainly. I think when you look at the chances that they did create, I feel like the confidence of the Chiefs attackers ultimately is what cost Msimango his red card, because if you look at the build-up before that, they did beautifully where Castillo and Sile combined. Sile threw in the box, cuts it back. Ashley Dupria doesn't have the shot, passes it to Modi. Modi doesn't have the shot, passes it to Sitebe. And ultimately, the chance is lost. Sundowns go on the counter-attack, and that's where Msimango is forced to tackle Ribeiro. And there's even one point in the game where Sile was in the box. He cut in from the left-hand side, and he must just, I mean, when you're in the box, you're the boss. The defenders can't tackle you. They can't do. You're the boss. But he literally turned and played it to someone outside the box. I think it was to Modi. And that just speaks to the confidence of the attackers at the moment, unfortunately. But they had their opportunities. Reeve Rossler, great block by Musa Lebusa, put his body on the line. But that's epitomized Sundowns. Everyone chips in. Everyone gets involved. And so great block by Lebusa. But Chiefs had their opportunities. They weren't out of this game. Unfortunately, I think in the second half, they didn't do enough to really keep themselves in the game.
Nadim, last night's game?
Yeah, it was an interesting game, but at the end of the day, no matter what Chiefs did in the first half, you just knew that they were going to lose that game. They never, I don't even think there's anyone who honestly believed that they had a chance to beat Sundowns. Looking how Sundowns have been playing in recent matches against Amatax, against Esperance, you will feel that Chiefs maybe will at least come up with a draw. We can't make the red card as an excuse. Pirates also, Miguel team got the red card against Sundowns. At the end of the game was a score draw 1-1. But this one, Chiefs like 5-1, it just shows where the team is. Sundowns have not, I think it's the first time this season where they scored 5 goals in the PSL. Then it comes against Kaizer Chiefs. You ask yourself, why does it have to be Chiefs that are struggling so well? There are a lot of wrong things. I understand where Kevin Johnson is coming from. He doesn't know where the problem is, so he can't bring the solution. He's not the right guy to take the teams forward. Yes, he was not. Didn't come as a full-time coach. He came as a caretaker coach because he was hired for something else as a head of development. Now he is in charge to assist the team, but it's not working. Just like it didn't work with Atazwana on sake.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot that's amiss with Kaizer Chiefs. You know, if you look at yesterday's game, a result like this has been coming for a few seasons now. You know, but what Kaizer Chiefs always does is that they have this thing where they depend on the fact that they always show up against the Mamelodi Sundowns and make the game a little more interesting or make the game a little tighter. Yesterday, it didn't look like they had a really good plan. I mean, if you have the pace of a Saile and a Dupree, you've got the industry of a Castillo and a Stebo in midfield, you expect that something will happen. But that red card really threw them off, and they didn't recover, which is where you expect coaching to come in now, to say, okay, now let me make the right substitutions in order to be able to manage the game, because we're no longer in a position where we can probably win it, but let's try to manage the damage. They didn't really do that. And if you're playing against a side with the quality of Mamelodi Sundowns and the players playing at the level that they were playing, I mean, Lucas Ribeiro yesterday put on a clinic. You know, Tashrik Matthews was just on a different level. So in a game like that, if you don't manage it properly as the coach, it can really get away
And
from
I think
you.
the interesting thing is, I agree with Biso, but it was 0-0 when they got the red card. And we know that in football, everyone knows, and they'll tell you that it's harder to play against 10 men than it is to play against 11 a lot of times. A lot of times teams go a man down and people are like, no, you have the advantage. But a lot of coaches will tell you it's difficult to play against 10 players, because if they group together properly and they set themselves up well, and again, maybe the coaching element has to come into that, it shouldn't be that easy to break them down. And unfortunately, it looked, you know, a lot of times it's difficult when you play against 10, but yesterday it was just too easy for Sundowns playing against 10 men.
Let's talk about Sundowns now. I mean, they deserve for us to give them their flowers, their roses, whatever it is that they want. The South American combinations that they've brought on, they bring on players that click immediately, Mark. You go to Ethiopia, you bring an Ethiopian player, clicks immediately. You bring Tembikosi Lodge from Orlando Pirates, clicks immediately. Anybody that comes on, I mean, Ronald Williams was a big talk about what is he going to do at Sundowns. He clicked immediately.
No, I think a lot of times, and that has to go back to having a proper technical team, a proper scouting team in place. When they choose and select players, it's not just the best players in the country. It's players that suit their system. Who would have thought Mdunyelwa? A lot of people are like, really? Mdunyelwa? Like how? But they would have studied him. They would have studied his matches, watched countless hours of footage to make sure he fits into exactly what they're looking for in that position. And that speaks to the work that is done behind the scenes. And so you have to give them credit. You know, Khuliso Modau, when he was signed from Black Leopards.
No one can tell me they saw Khuliso
like,
be the player
I was
that he
like,
is
you know,
now.
I was kind of like, I see glimpses, but really, is he going to be? And right now, I'm the biggest Khuliso Modau fan around. And so that speaks to the hours of work that goes into it. And so you have to give them credit for that. So when they sign, they don't just sign for the sake of it. They make sure that it's a proper fit.
You spoke about him a little bit earlier. Ribeiro is a special player. Ribeiro is, and I was shocked that he wasn't higher on your guys' list when we're speaking about the best players this season.
I mean, personally, I wasn't on air. He was the first name I was going to say, because I think what he's done with him, the crazy thing is, it's not just from a goal scoring point of view, it's from a creation point of view also. You know, it's from the gameplay, just the interplay, you know, the team is building up, the entertainment of it. The way he's taken to the league, you'd swear he's been playing here for 5 years or something. And for a lot of players, they come here and they take it a while to adapt. He's come here and you can't even tell that, you know, he hasn't been playing here for that long. You look at the interplay that Mamelodi Sundowns have. I mean, some of those goals yesterday were just PlayStation stuff. You know, you're looking at the pass.
The first one was exactly how you scored in PlayStation.
That was ridiculous. That pass was ridiculous.
It made no sense how he saw that. You know, a day or two ago, we were praising Tony Cruz. Everyone on social media was talking about the Tony Cruz pass for Vinicius Jr. Here's the pass right now we're seeing. And this is in the box that is already packed with people. And he sees that pathway for that ball. The team that they have, it's actually scary, because I was thinking about it earlier and I'm thinking, you know, we're talking about how beginning of the season we already knew that Sundowns is going to win the league because they're the best players and, you know, they were playing the best football. a lot of these players that played last night, Esquivel, Matthews, these are players that came in January. So already for the next season, they've already built a team. You know, it's just a case of getting 1 or 2 players here and there for the luxury of it. But they already have a squad that can actually compete next season.
And this is us talking about players. We're not even speaking about Williams. We're not speaking about Teboho Mokwena. We're not speaking about Mshishizwane.
Yeah, they almost have like 3 different squads. That is good enough actually to compete with any PSL team. That's how much they've done. Even I like the angle of Mtao. They will take a normal player like in the PSL and turn him into something else, where he becomes one of the top right back in Africa. They also improve players when they join them. That's the good thing about the coaching staff at Sundowns. I always like it because if you remember Mhlompo Kekana and Tian Mabunda, when they joined Sundowns, they were not the players they were. But by the time their retirement, they were already Champions League winners, top players in the country. There's always improvement when you sign for Sundowns. That's the kind of element. Other players, when they join some of the big teams in Soweto, you see them joining there, you will never hear what happens of them. They don't improve. Sundowns gives you that luxury that they will improve you. Like Loch, you see how Loch is fighting and running now. He's not the same player that he was at Pirates. You can see that his game is actually improving. If you can talk to him, he will tell you that he's learning some few things there. That's what I like about Sundowns. That they have a lot of money. They are benefiting fairly so because they're owned by a billionaire who can spend 50 million rand on signing a single player. Other teams don't have a luxury of that. But also, even when they sign local players, they are always going to improve them there. Williams and Mokwena, when they come from SuperSport, they were already Bafana players. But Mtao was not a Bafana player. So now he's always a solid Bafana player. That's the kind of coaching stuff they're doing at Sundowns.
Say the best right back in the world, please, Nadia.
No, he's not.
The best right back in the world.
He's mine.
No, not in the world.
He's my boy.
There's Kavachal.
Okay, best right back in Africa.
I wouldn't go for. If it's the best right back in Africa, will not be playing for Sundowns. We'll be playing for Bayern Munich in the Champions League.
1832. Let's not water this down. 1832 in the Mighty Metro FM. So there's been a rule change this season, and it's something that a lot of us woke up to, like in the last day or so. The best young player is no longer an under-23 player, but an under-21 player. So I wonder how that then changes your views.
Rightfully so. Can I first say that? Because I don't think we should consider 23-year-olds as youngsters anymore. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in South Africa, is that we're still calling 23, 24-year-olds youngsters. So the best young player, yes, under 21. And again, it does change things quite drastically, because I think Osman Apollos, if you look at stats alone, he was probably the front runner amongst others. But now when we're saying it's under 21, 3 names for me would be, and again, I don't know exactly how many minutes or how many games need to be played for
40%,
that.
yeah.
40%. But then I would have obviously Rile Mofokeng and then Chandre Campbell. But one that probably people won't take note of is Jaden Rhodes. Jaden Rhodes has been he's been doing great stuff for Cape Town City, and he's been a phenomenal player for them. Youngster is born 2003, so that means he's 21 this year. But he's an exceptional player.
So your front runner is Rile?
Definitely, it would have to be.
I think even before the rule change, for me, it would have been really. I think at times in football we go astray a bit with stats, and we look at stats, and it's great, yes, to look at the stats, and especially for a young player, you've done so well. But I think when you watch games, Rile Mofokeng is a starter at Orlando Pirates, one of the biggest clubs in the country. He plays week in, week out. He is influential in every single game that they play. Yes, he might not score in a game or assist in a game, but you see his influence for the entire time that he's on the field. The opposition defenders are running around. Before he even gets the ball, they're scared of what he might do. So I think it's, for me, he is miles ahead in terms of that race.
Nadim, are you going to be the black sheep of the family?
No. Mofokeng has to be the young player of the season. The other guys like Chandra Mofokeng, Batman from Cape Town Space, they've not played enough matches. Mofokeng is a clear favorite since we eliminate Adams, Titus, and all those kind of guys. He has done well for Orlando Pirates. The fact that Saleng, Erasmus, Kabelo Dlamini have not been starters, he's been ever present from the start of the season till today. Even now, he's been pulling up man of the match performances. It's actually, you can even talk about the discussion that he's in the top 10 best players in the PSL this season. Not only young players, in the top 10 best players in the PSL this season. Mofokeng has to be there because at Pirates, he's in the top 3 best players. That's how he's been doing so well. I honestly feel that Pirates have this coach has done well by giving a 19-year-old player as a starter, something that we don't usually see in the PSL, where you see a young player cementing and being given this kind of chances. This season, I honestly think he has to leave Pirates and go overseas, because is that good. I remember when Laila Fossa started at Pirates, you just see that this boy is dangerous. He did the right thing by not spending too much time at Pirates and left and going to France. Also, I expect him to leave Pirates.
Right, let's celebrate the man, Rulani Mokwena, gents. Taken over as solo coach from Mangoba, who then becomes his assistant coach, former assistant to Peter Musimane, former coach at Chippa United. He took over at Pirates at some point as well, assisted at Pirates. This Rulani Mokwena and the education in football. And in my view, I look at Rulani and what he's doing and what he's saying, and I think to myself, he doesn't look at himself or pace himself to local standards. He paces and looks at himself in international standards with an international eye and invests in himself as well.
So one of my biggest gripes with South African football is that it's still very social. So there's too much of a social element in the game when it comes to coaches and players. We treat out, and I've said it before, like any Sunday league football, and with people like Rulani, they can only be good for our game purely because they're raising the bar. He's continually raising the bar, not only for himself, but what he requires and what he expects of his players as well. And obviously, I think, a lot of credit can also go to Coach Pito, who is also one of the hardest working people. And he's obviously just raised the bar even from there. And so the way you conduct yourself, what you expect of yourself, and you can't ask of players what you don't show. It's like, we always say as parents, your kids are not going to do what you tell them. They're going to do what you show them.
Yeah.
And so Coach Rulani, the work and the effort that he puts in, he sets the example. And that's why no player at Sundowns can go, halfway. They have to make sure that they match up to the coach. What he expects of them, he shows them that he does it first. And so everyone works really hard, and they've certainly raised the bar, and everyone else is going to have to play catch up. But it's taking everyone too long. We have to get people as close as possible for our league to be competitive, because we can't have teams winning at 6 games to go.
It's done brilliant. The fact that he's yet to lose a DSTV Premiership match since he took over, like 49 games and counting now.
That is incredible.
Exactly, and
that is
that's
unfathomable.
He's a winner. I'm not sure if he's a good coach or not, but I know he's a winner. If you look at how he failed at Pirates, he went to Chippa United. We can't forget that he was given Pirates when I nearly say that name. When the former Pirates coach left Pirates, what's the name of that Serbian guy? Micho, yeah, that's the correct name. When Micho left, when Micho left Pirates, Rulani was given Orlando Pirates. He struggled. I mean, that team nearly won the league. Sundowns won the league with 1 point. That team, Augustine Molenga, Shonga, was a very good.
Is
Pirates.
this you going towards the fact that he's grown so much now?
I'm saying he's a winner. I'm just seeing this winning mentality. It's like he was a Dane. I'm not. He always he models himself around Pep Guardiola, but for me, he's a winner. He's got that thing, but he wants to win. If you look at some of the games, Sundowns have not been dominating with ball possession. Some of the matches you feel like Sundowns, how did they win the thing? But at the end of the day, he's going to find a way to win. That's what I like about him. Pitso Msimane was right when he's saying Rulani is going to be a better coach than him. Because if you look at him now, you can actually tell that his records, his statistics is way better than Pitso. In the last 2 years that he's coached Sundowns, he's been solid. He deserves everything good that comes from him. I just wish he won the Champions League, because, of course, Sundowns, you'll have to win it. This thing is even next season, we know if he's there, he's going to win the PSL with record number of wins. The same what he's doing now. He's just doing well. And we can't say he's winning because Sundowns have good players. They've been point where Pitso have good players, but he was struggling to win the league. He will compete with Sundowns or Vets or Pirates. Sometimes we need to 1 point. But this guy is winning to the record number of points. He's doing so brilliant. And he did say we don't speak highly of enough. Now he's won 4 trophies. I remember 2 trophies. Of course, the other one was 2 joint coaches with Mangoba Mngqithi. I think that was one of the best decisions by putting him as the head coach of Sundowns. At first, I doubted him that how can you put Rulani ahead of Steve Kombela, who's more experienced than Mangoba? But now they knew what they were doing. If you look at his record, unbeaten. I mean, he's yet to lose a PSL match in more than 49 matches. I think we don't speak highly of enough.
Yeah, I think the guys have said everything. But just to add on, I think for me, I watched his post-match interview yesterday where he was talking about Carlo Ancelotti, watching all these coaches.
And that's what I was saying. He'll reference what's the coach at Cape Town Spurs? He'll reference no.
Steve Parker.
No, not Parker, man.
Ernst
Middendorp. Spurs. He'll reference Ernst Middendorp because he thinks of him highly because of the football education that he's gone through. But Rulani is thinking in pounds and dollars. He's thinking in European football. That's his mentality. That's where he's measuring himself up to.
And you watch Mamelodi Sundowns playing, and you can see that influence shining through in the way that they set up, in the way that they play football, in the philosophy that the players have. I mean, Modiba also mentioned it here, that he speaks about those coaches, but they also watch a lot of that, of that stuff, because it shows them those tapes. So it's beautiful to see a young South African coach doing as well as he has and having the humility that he has also.
Well, the question is, has he done enough? With Stellenbosch doing what they're doing at the moment, with the players they have and the club, the consideration in and around who wins coach of the season. We know for sure that it's not just about who wins the DStv Premiership, who wins the league, who wins the trophy, because we saw Peter Musimane losing the coach of the season to Benny McCarthy.
Actually, it was Rulani Mokwena. They lost.
Was it Rulani Mokwena? Yes, well,
yeah, 2001.
Yes, 2001.
Yeah.
And 2001, mind you, 2021, they'd lost one game that season to Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yet they lost it to Benny McCarthy. Let's go to Linda Lamoya with some of those stats there. Linda, thank you so much for joining us. It's Opta Jabu. Follow Opta Jabu and Laduma as well on X. That's where you find the guys. Hey, you well?
Hi, Andile. Good evening to you and the listeners and everyone in the studio.
Listen, Laduma Analytics, I was, glued on to see if you guys are going to analytically give Chiefs a chance, but it wasn't to be last night. Talk to me about, if we're looking at coach of the season and we're focusing on Barker and Rulani, what are some of the stats around those two?
Yes, Andile, indeed. So we have already, you've mentioned, Rulani, the first coach in PSL history to win the league without losing a single game ever. So that is a record of its own. And you've already mentioned that he's gone, 48 games without losing, another record as well. They could get to 50, and there are many more records that they can still break between now and the end of the season.
So what kind of fight can Steve Barker put up? What are the stats coming out of Stellenbosch?
So Stellenbosch we know already they are the only team this season that has actually led Sundowns in a game, and they are the only team, or rather the last team, to beat Sundowns in domestic competition. But if we put that aside, Stellenbosch have already won 49 points this season, which is their record as a club, the most they've ever had in a top flight season. So he's doing very well with a very young team as well down in Stellenbosch.
Stellies versus Sundowns.
Yes. Tough game for Sundowns, we won't lie. We'll be there again tomorrow to witness that. I said Stellies were the last domestic team to win a game against Sundowns when they beat them in last season's Nedbank Cup. And also Sundowns, in only one game this season, have Sundowns been behind, and that was a game against Stellenbosch.
That is a crazy stat to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking about
that
it.
That is a crazy stat to me. So Sundowns have been behind once this season.
20 minutes, Andile.
That's ridiculous. No, that is ridiculous. Please repeat that stat again. What?
Sundowns have been behind in a league game just once this season, only for 20 minutes between the 14th and the 34th minute in September 2023.
Come on. What?
Yeah, no,
that's crazy. Okay, let's perhaps jump to this here. They've won the league already. It's all wrapped up as far as that's concerned. But surely there are still things that Sundowns can still achieve, that Rulani can still achieve, statistically speaking. What are some of those things that they can still break as far as records are concerned?
Indeed. We have points records in target, win records in target, goals records in target, goals for and goals against.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just focus maybe on the 30-game PSL era. The record is 71 points. Sundowns need 9 points in the last 6 games to equal that, and 10 points to set a new record.
Well, and it's a very it's highly plausible that.
Yeah, it's gonna be done. Yeah,
I can see that, very highly plausible. Okay, and then the wins.
In wins, the most wins by a team in a 30-game season is 22. So Sundowns need just 4 wins from the last 6 games to equal that, and 5 from 6 to set a new record.
What about goals?
Most goals scored in a 30-game season is 56. Again, by Sundowns, 21-22. And they need 9 goals from the last 6 games to equal that. Obviously, 10 goals to break and set a new record.
Right, and then goals against. What are they sitting on versus what do they need?
There is that record. Goals against is 11, the record for goals conceded in the PSL season. That was Kaizer Chiefs in 2003, 2004. At this stage of the season, actually, Kaizer Chiefs had only conceded 5 goals in that season.
Crazy.
They only petted off in the last few games and conceded another 6 then. So Sundowns have 9 so far. They have only a window of 2 goals to concede if they are to break that record for goals against.
Opta, listen, I'm going to go away with that one stat that you just said. Mamelodi Sundowns, I'm not going to forget that one. It's a crazy stat. I've only been behind once this season, 2 Stellenbosch, and it took about 20 minutes before they corrected that. That is incredible. Lindela Moya, part of the Laduma Analytics. Follow them on X and Opta Jabu.
And they're playing each other this weekend.
And they're playing each other. That's what he's saying. They're playing each other. You'll be there to see it all.
Interesting, mate.
It's interesting indeed. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
With that being said, Mark, coach of the season.
Again, I think it comes down to the 2, ultimately. It's going to be a tough one. And again, the criteria, what's the criteria that's used? It's so many different things that I guess people will take into consideration. But when you look at what Stellies have done as well, it's a strong, they put up a strong case for Coach Steve Barker. And I feel like it possibly could come down to the match on Sunday. Because should Stellies advance and go on to maybe win?
What?
No,
If
honestly,
Stellies beat Sundowns in the Nedbank Cup, you think that could be the decider?
that could literally be the decider. If Stellies go on to win this tournament, how many titles do they have this season? That's 2 trophies for Stellenbosch. They've achieved their highest number of points in the club's history. You can't overlook that. And yes, I mean, what Coach Rulani has done with this Sundowns team is phenomenal. But what Coach Steve has done with Stellies and how consistent they've been. I mean, this is a Stellies team that's hitting teams as well, 5 and 3-0 in the league. They've pushed boundaries and they've jumped massive hurdles. And so I don't think it's as clear cut as you might think it is. Because the reality is Stellenbosch stand a chance to win 2 of the 3
remember last
4
season
titles this season.
I asked last season, I said...
So are you going to say if Pirates wins the Nedbank Cup, which is likely to happen? And
no,
of course they will. Are you going to say then the Pirates coach is also in the candidate to win the coach of the season?
2 trophies in the same season.
Pirates have won a trophy already.
And what I'm saying is, and a record number of points for a club that when you look at
No, but this is not Stellenbosch Award, it's a PSL. We can't judge you on what you did in your team. We judge you against all the top coaches in the PSL.
Yes, and he's done exceptionally well against all the top coaches in the PSL.
Sitting in second.
When the season started, did you see Stellenbosch finishing second on the log? Just yes or no? Did you see Stellenbosch finishing second? Did you see them possibly winning 2 trophies this season? Yes or no?
But they're not going to win 2 trophies.
Yes or no?
No, I didn't say it because that's not going to happen.
You would not have expected it. So they've literally exceeded all expectations.
No.
Nadeem, let's come to you. What do you think? Coach of the season.
The coach of the season, I hear what Mike is saying. I mean, you can look at guy like Honora Siema, who is the reason why Polokwane are not going to be relegated, or Sikukune. He has done well with both teams. And then you look at the Sundowns coach, who's unbeaten, is yet to be led. It happened in one game, is unbeaten. Let us be serious. If the coach of the season is about how well you have done the league, Rulani is by mile the best coach of the season. There's not even a competition. It just need to be given. There's no debate about it. It's a clear-cut winner. Because usually I heard Tiko Motiso saying they look at it's actually the coach of the season. It's who has done well in the league. They don't consider the other trophies. It's actually
not.
Yeah, I heard that the criteria, they look at who has done well in the league. The coach that has done well in the league is Rulani Mokwena. And by mile, the records are just there. I mean, you can't try to make another. Steve Barker has done well, but let's not forget he has lost more than 5 games already in the same PSL. Yes, he's doing well with the same squad. He's also sold Mendieta, sold Mtetwa. He sold most of the key players, and then he managed to regroup the other players that were there to do so incredible. But for me, he's not the coach of the season, simply because Rulani has been so brilliant.
Piece of snaps?
Yeah, I think Steve Barker has done really well, and if they go on to beat Mamelodi Sundowns, yes, he puts himself in the conversation, I think. But I think it's clear cut this season for Rulani. I mean, to be able to do this possibly as an invincible team, the number of goals they've scored, the number of competitions that they've been at the final stages of. I mean, you talk about Nedbank, they're in the semi-final of that. The league, they've won it with, at a Kenta, and they won the AFL. They were in the semi-finals of the Champions League. But if it's only based on the league itself, I don't think there's any competition. Rulani wins it this season.
Do you know the one thing that stands out for me, Mark? That the best time or the best place in which Stellenbosch has competed with Sundowns, they led them for 20 minutes. That's the best stat.
And they lost.
And they lost. No, they went on to lose.
And they lost. And
so
Sundowns,
for me, I'm like...
For sure.
And Sundowns were playing a second string team, if you remember that team.
I don't think they have a second string team, do they?
No, but they were not playing their... It was
they have finer players.
Yes.
Okay.
Guys, I mean, it's just I looked at last night's game. You saw Sundowns made a triple sub. Do you remember what that triple sub was?
What was it?
All the Bafana players. I saw.
Mudau, Modiba, Mvala. That was the triple sub that Sundowns made last night against Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I hope maybe as a country we must give Sundowns a transfer ban just so other children can also.
Listen, with the players they have now, they'll still be fine.
The only negative is that with all that said, none of the players who are in the Sundowns team are coming from that development. That's the disadvantage.
That's not true.
Mabena Masego?
No, it's not the starter. Masego is not from development.
Oh, you mean the starters?
Yeah, in the players at Sundowns that have been playing regular, none of them are coming from that development, of which you feel that they need to also. It can't be a buying
team. But you are
team
saying that to say what?
I mean,
I'm saying you can't disagree with someone who's gonna say Sundowns are buying success.
I mean, it's part of the game.
You can't disagree on that, because if you look at how Mokwena was already a Bafana player, Williams was a Bafana, Modiba was Masego, we knew that he was going to be promoted to Sundowns. Was already a brilliant player.
Masego Super Sport, yeah.
Exactly. All the players that are doing well at Sundowns are not from their development. That just tells you that, okay, actually, when fans are complaining, Chiefs and Pirates fans are complaining that Sundowns is buying the league, it's difficult to disagree with that. If you look, none of the players were part and parcel of the team.
But I go back to the statement you made. They got to Sundowns and became better players.
No, but most of the key players, like Mokwena, was already Bafana player.
Yeah, but he wasn't the player that he is now.
Mokwena.
Ronwen wasn't the player that he is now.
No, was already Bafana captain. Was already
I'm
the
not
best
disagreeing with you. I'm saying they were not the players that they are now. They were not the players that would go to an African Cup of Nations competition and have the world saying, hey, who is this player? Why are they still playing locally? You said to me here that Sundowns takes even those players and improves them.
Yeah, but now I'm telling you, Modiba was already a Bafana player.
Because I can say the same
thing.
Mokwena
was already Williams was already Bafana captain.
Did Ashley Dupree and all the players that left Stellenbosch, were they not great players when they left Stellenbosch to go to Kaizer Chiefs?
No credit for them for improving them.
There you
but
go.
That's
the conversation.
I'm just saying they're already buying ready-made top players in the country.
Let's agree.
They're already
disagree.
buying they're already.
Let's agree to disagree.
When they buy them, they buy them.
Okay, let's agree to disagree.
But they are the best players in the country.
It's 18:53 on the Mighty Metro FM. Let's go straight to you.
Andile bona Peter Mjem from Tembisa. I coach Rarona Manozarking. He's been learning what every day when we have a winning combination, the following match why dismantle for Ingi, you don't know why. Understand? Anyway, congratulations to Masanda one. I deserve Renata no gla rutwa botlhoko fela nje. Coach Rarona man is not make sure. Peter Mjem from Tembisa.
Good evening, good evening. You're speaking to Peter from Polokwane. Whatever that is happening at Kaizer Chiefs, it has nothing to do with football. It's not football related. Whatever that is happening at Kaizer Chiefs, Bagamutaung must go somewhere. I don't know if it's an ocean or in the middle of somewhere in Africa, just to cleanse whatever. Because that is beyond football. Thank you, Ma'a.
Beyond football. Hey, how's the look going for call?
Yes, Ma'a, and the gentleman in the studio.
Yep.
We greet you all. Yeah, man, we can talk about the Kaizer Chiefs and Sundowns, man. There's a game that you just want to try to overlook here. Sundowns versus TX Galaxy. the big-headed TX Galaxy. Also talk about that one. Talk about that one. Wanna hear? Wanna hear about
Cut him
Nadim?
off quickly. Cut him off quickly. Mark, quickly talk about that one.
What is there to say about that one?
For
Sundowns-
me, it's the most exciting game right now.
Sundowns won 3-0, right?
Yeah.
And Shaolile scored a brace after not scoring for a while. That's it. Standard procedure. Sundowns.
I think, maybe people want us to comment on the tackles and all that kind of thing, red cards that have been dished out, but ultimately, it's in the nature of the game. It's
And
tensions are
Andile
high.
tried very hard for the past 2 months hyping that game. It tried,
It
but
lived up to the hype.
no, it didn't.
do you
3-0.
mean?
3-0. It could have been 5, Andile. So
Let's
I
go to
don't know.
Lisibe. Lisibe is on Rulani. Lisibe, we're celebrating here, Papa.
What are you celebrating?
We're celebrating Sundowns' victory.
Okay, yes. Let me quickly make my point, then I'll congratulate them towards my conclusion. Good evening, Andile. Good evening to the gentlemen in the studio. For me, I've always been frustrated by Coach Johnson. I even mute when he's being interviewed. I mute my TV. One, you go to half time at 0-0. Fine. Why don't you come back and say, okay, we have managed to hold Sundowns 0-0. Let's rather pull Castillo, whom I thought he was a shadow of himself, or Modi. Then reinforce the defense. Then you play with Debris and Silas, pace, counter-attack, simple. We don't have to go to school to learn basic tactics.
So that was going to assist Chiefs to beat Sundowns.
I'm not saying they were going to assist because I'm not a fortune teller to tell what might have happened. Out of,
So what are you saying?
I'm saying, coach lacks tactical awareness.
Lisibe, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. Let's go to David. David is out. He wants to speak about Masandawan.
Thank you for taking my call. Congratulations, Sundowns. Though I think their supporters have forgotten to celebrate of late. They think, too much of one thing, it becomes boring. I've said it before. The spending cap, something must be done in CSL. There is no reason in buying or using 100 million to fight for 30 million. In other countries, if South Africa was a security conscious country, they would.
David, let me ask you one question.
Money laundering.
Very quickly, let me ask you a question. How much do you win when you play in the AFL?
Sorry?
How much do you win when you play in the African Football League?
In the African Football League, okay, it's is it
70,
40,000? Yes,
something
I
like
think.
70.
40,000?
It's around, okay, converted to rand, it's around
70 million.
Okay, how
Yeah.
much do you win when, or how much do you even get when you participate in the Club World Cup?
No, there is a rumor of $1 billion, and that thing, it is not dissected whether it's a winning.
No, I'm just talking about participation here. Semi-finals of the Champions League. All I'm saying is, David, you're looking at it from a PSL point of view to say it would be worthless to spend 100 million in the PSL to win the trophies. Sundowns aren't thinking like that. Sundowns are thinking of world domination. They're thinking of international football.
But I agree with
But
him. We
you
need
know,
a spend limit cap.
Let me correct you, Ma.
Mm.
The reason why Sundowns is failing to reach the final of the Champions League is like somebody who goes directly from the field, from the boardroom to go into a field of play. They don't have quality. They have bought in all the quality at Sundowns in such a manner that it is depleted competition in the league.
This is a nice conversation,
They're just
David.
shooting themselves in the foot.
I think
Yeah.
let's have this conversation, get our stats together and give us time, and let's have the conversation. I appreciate you for coming on. Sailor Mudau said, Andile, I'm coming to sit with you in studio. I'm excited for it in this coming week.
I need to be there.
Are you coming?
I need to be there.
I'll call you. Sharp, where are you?